Hey everybody, welcome back to Cruise Blog. It's Allie, and today we're going to be talking about noise-free cabins and how you can avoid loud rooms on your upcoming cruise. Let's get into it. When choosing your stateroom, it's important to consider how close it is to high traffic or noisy areas of the ship, especially if you're a light sleeper or you're traveling with young children. For example, nobody wants to be kept awake by the thumping of the cruise ship nightclub or woken up early by the sound of deck chairs being dragged across the Lido deck. Before selecting the first available cabin, follow these tips to avoid loud staterooms on your cruise vacation. First, don't play cabin roulette to save a few $100s. Many cruise lines offer guaranteed rates for passengers who aren't picky about their stateroom's location. While saving money may sound tempting, you could be assigned a cabin in an unfavorable, aka noisy, location. Instead of choosing your cabin when booking, the cruise line will randomly assign you a stateroom closer to your departure date, meaning that your cabin is typically selected from a pool of remaining rooms that were not reserved. Whether it's near a popular venue, underneath the pool deck, or in front of the ship, there are plenty of reasons why certain cabins are not selected. If you have a preference about where you want to be, like near the adults only sun deck or away from the elevator shaft, don't leave your stateroom selection up to fate. You may end up with the noisiest cabin on the ship if you do this. Next, you'll want to stay away from rooms near the elevators or stairwells. Elevator banks are popular meeting points, even on floors without public venues. As such, cabins near elevators tend to experience more foot traffic, especially during embarkation, disembarkation, and dinner. Hearing guests, sometimes with young children, or stumbling back after too many drinks, coming and going from their stateroom can be disruptive, whether early in the morning or late at night. Instead, look for cabins in isolated corridors or further from the stairwell. This will ensure you hear minimal noise from other guests, as fewer passengers will pass by your stateroom. Moreover, you won't risk sharing a wall with an elevator shaft, which might be louder than any passenger could be. Next, you'll want to avoid cabins underneath the pool deck. Even if you sleep through the crew members rearranging deck chairs early in the morning, staterooms underneath the pool deck are subject to noise throughout the day, ranging from live music to poolside competitions. Plus, the Lido deck is easily one of the most heavily trafficked areas on a sunny sea day, with hundreds of guests heading to the pool to enjoy a cocktail or to sunbathe. As such, it's smart to avoid booking a stateroom directly under the pool deck. Instead, choose a cabin a few decks lower where you'll be separated from the bustling pool area. Additionally, certain cruise ships, namely Royal Caribbean's Oasis and Icon class, have interior-facing balconies that could suffer from serious nosebleed, rendering their balconies useless for a serene afternoon retreat. Next, you should not choose a room near high-traffic areas. Whether a traditional multi-story atrium or a main promenade, all cruise ships tend to have a central hub where you can find everything from guest services to activities, onboard shops, and more. Early morning fitness classes, late night parties, and more keep the energy going in the hub all day, making it a less than ideal space to sleep. It's easy to locate the central hub on a cruise ship deck plan, luckily. For example, it's likely to be called an atrium on many Carnival ships. If you're sailing with Royal Caribbean, you'll want to look for the Royal Promenade. This thoroughfare hosts the ship's 24/7 cafe, guest services, stores, and more. Still, the deck plan explicitly states where the promenade is, and you should avoid this area. Next, you'll want to look for staterooms that are sandwiched between other cabin-only decks. With cabins above or below you, you will experience less noise from high traffic areas, resulting in a quieter, more peaceful environment for sleeping after your long days ashore or taking advantage of the ship's amenities. Because there are no public venues nearby, the only foot traffic you'll experience are the guests who are coming and going from their cabins, rather than passengers en route to the main dining room, the theater, etc. Next, you'll want to avoid connecting staterooms. Adjoining cabins are great for large families because it provides privacy while staying close together rather than across the hall or on a different deck. However, connecting staterooms can be noisy, especially if you don't know the other person in the adjoining room. Even when the door is closed and locked, you may hear passengers talking or listening to the television, all of which might be louder than you expect. On a recent sailing on board Disney Magic, although I wasn't in a connecting cabin, I still heard children crying in the room next door. I can only imagine how much more pronounced the noise would have been if the staterooms were adjoining. Connecting cabins can be identified on the ship's deck plan, however. If you decide not to reserve your specific stateroom when booking, you cannot request for your guaranteed cabin to be non-connecting. Next, you'll want to choose a cabin towards the ship's aft. Staying in the back or the aft of the vessel means you won't be awoken by the ship dropping its anchor early in the morning. Though this only happens at tender ports like Grand Cayman, Half Moon Cay, and some certain Alaska cities, the noise and subsequent vibrations can disturb a peaceful sleep, especially if you're gearing up for a long day ashore and you're sensitive to sound and motion. However, as mentioned, anchoring is only a concern at tender ports, so if you're sailing to destinations like Nassau, St. Martin, Cozumel, or San Juan, you don't really have to worry about being disrupted early in the morning from the anchor. That said, those who are concerned about motion sickness should approach forward cabins with caution, as they're subject to more movement, particularly in rough seas. Midship staterooms are generally a better option for cruisers prone to feeling ill at sea, as they provide a more stable ride. So what should you do if you're stuck in a noisy cabin? First, try and assess where the noise is coming from. Are the hangars rattling against each other at night? Maybe the air conditioning is humming louder than anticipated. Note that creaking is somewhat common on your cruise, and while it's not a cause for concern, it can definitely be annoying. Either way, determine if the noise's source is inside your cabin or in the hallway. Having this information will help crew members address the issue. Begin with your cabin steward. If the problem needs to be escalated to maintenance, they'll send a technician to evaluate the noise and see what they can do to resolve it. Veteran cruisers also advise coming prepared with sleep aids, such as white noise machines and earplugs, which can make a world of difference in blocking out disruptive sounds, helping you sleep better on your cruise. All right, everybody, that is all we have for today. Thanks for tuning into Cruise Blog, and be sure and like and subscribe so that you can be notified every time we have a new video. Until next time, this has been Allie, and happy cruising.